It began with a sound, not of thunder, not of an earthquake, but something far more unnatural. In the early hours of the morning, deep beneath the quiet surface of the ocean, something shifted. No one saw it happen, no one heard the warning, but within minutes, the world would change forever. Waves, massive, unstoppable walls of water, started moving across the ocean at the speed of a jet plane. Invisible in the deep sea, yet carrying unimaginable power. And on the shores, people had no idea what was coming. This is the story of one of the most terrifying natural forces on Earth. A force that strikes without warning, erases entire cities, and leaves behind nothing but silence. This is the story of the tsunami. Tsunamis are not ordinary waves. They don't behave like the waves you see crashing on a beach. In fact, out in the deep ocean, a tsunami can pass beneath ships without even being noticed. But everything changes when it reaches land. A tsunami is usually triggered by a sudden displacement of water, most often caused by an underwater earthquake. When tectonic plates shift violently, they push the ocean above them upward, creating a series of waves that travel across entire oceans. These waves can move as fast as 500 miles per hour. That's faster than most airplanes. At first, they may only be a few feet high, but as they approach shallow coastal waters, something terrifying happens. The waves slow down, and their height increases dramatically. What was once invisible becomes a towering wall of destruction, and by the time people realize what's happening, it's already too late. One of the most devastating in modern history occurred on December 26, 2004. On that day, a massive earthquake struck off the coast of Indonesia. It registered a magnitude of 9.1, one of the strongest ever recorded. The ocean floor suddenly lifted, displacing billions of tons of water. Within minutes, tsunami waves began racing across the Indian Ocean. They hit Indonesia first. Entire coastal communities were wiped out in seconds. Buildings collapsed like paper. Cars were tossed aside like toys. People were caught completely off guard. But the destruction didn't stop there. The waves continued outward, reaching countries thousands of miles away: Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, even the eastern coast of Africa. In total, over 230,000 people lost their lives. It was one of the deadliest natural disasters in human history. And yet, what makes tsunamis even more frightening is how little warning they give. In some cases, the only sign is the ocean itself. Just before a tsunami strikes, the water near the shore may suddenly recede, pulling back far beyond its normal limits. Fish flop helplessly on the exposed seabed. Boats tilt and collapse onto the sand. To someone who doesn't know what it means, it might look fascinating, but in reality, it's a deadly warning, because what follows is devastation. Despite advances in technology, predicting exactly when and where a tsunami will strike remains incredibly difficult. There are warning systems in place today, networks of sensors and buoyants designed to detect changes in ocean pressure. These systems can send alerts within minutes of an underwater earthquake. But even with these systems, time is limited. In some coastal areas, people may have only a few minutes to escape. And survival often comes down to one thing: how fast you can react. But tsunamis are not just about destruction. They also reveal something deeper about our planet, something powerful and uncontrollable. The Earth is constantly moving. Beneath our feet, massive tectonic plates are shifting, colliding, and grinding against each other. Most of the time, we don't feel it. But when that movement becomes violent, the results can be catastrophic. And the ocean,
vast and unpredictable, becomes the perfect medium for that energy to travel, carrying it across continents, delivering it to shores that never saw it coming. But here's the chilling part. Tsunamis don't always come as a single wave. In many cases, the first wave is not even the largest. Waves can continue to arrive for hours, each one potentially more destructive than the last. People who survive the initial impact sometimes return too soon, only to be caught in a second, more powerful surge. It's a relentless force, one that doesn't stop until it has spent all its energy. And by then, everything in its path may already be gone.
For those who have experienced a tsunami and lived to tell the story, the memories never fade. Survivors often describe the same moment, the instant when confusion turns into pure fear. At first, it doesn't look like a wave. There's no perfect curl, no dramatic crash like in the movies. Instead, it appears as a rapidly rising wall of water, dark, heavy, and unstoppable. Some say it sounds like a freight train. Others describe a deep, roaring thunder, growing louder with every second. And then, impact. Water surges forward with incredible force, tearing apart everything in its path. Homes are ripped from their foundations, trees are uprooted, streets vanish beneath churning water filled with debris. But what makes a tsunami especially deadly isn't just the wave itself. It's what the water carries. Concrete, glass, metal, entire vehicles, everything becomes a weapon. Even strong swimmers stand no chance against such chaos. People are dragged underwater, pulled into currents they cannot fight, surrounded by objects they cannot avoid. And for those who manage to hold on, the nightmare is far from over. Because a tsunami doesn't simply hit and disappear. The water floods inland, sometimes reaching miles from the shore. Then, just as suddenly, it begins to retreat, pulling everything back with it. Buildings collapse inward, roads crack apart, and anything or anyone caught in the current is dragged back toward the ocean. It's a cycle of destruction, forward and backward, over and over again. Hours can pass before the danger is truly gone. But in the middle of that chaos, there are also stories of survival. Stories that seem almost impossible. People clinging to rooftops as water rushes beneath them. Families holding on to each other, refusing to let go despite the overwhelming force. Strangers risking their lives to pull others to safety. In one account, a man described how he was swept away by the first wave, carried through streets filled with debris. He collided with walls, vehicles, and fragments of buildings. At one point, he thought it was over, but somehow he managed to grab onto a floating door. That single object kept him alive. For hours he drifted, injured, exhausted, surrounded by destruction, until finally rescuers found him. Stories like these remind us that even in the face of overwhelming disaster, human resilience can be extraordinary. But survival often depends on preparation, and that's where knowledge becomes critical. In many tsunami-prone regions today, communities are trained to recognize the warning signs. Earthquake? Move to higher ground immediately. Water suddenly disappears from the shoreline? Run. Sirens or alerts? Don't wait to confirm, act. Because hesitation can cost lives. Countries like Japan have invested heavily in tsunami defenses, seawalls, evacuation routes, vertical shelters, entire systems designed to reduce the impact. And yet, even with all that preparation, nature can still overwhelm. In 2011, Japan experienced one of the most powerful earthquakes in its history. What followed was a tsunami that exceeded expectations. Waves surged over seawalls, flooded cities, and caused a nuclear disaster at Fukushima. It was a stark reminder that no system is perfect, and that nature, at its most extreme, cannot always be controlled. But while technology continues to improve, one of the most powerful tools remains awareness. Knowing what to do, recognizing the danger, and acting without hesitation. Because when a tsunami begins, there is no time for doubt. Only seconds, maybe minutes, and every decision matters. But beyond the science and survival, there is something else that tsunamis reveal. Something deeply human. In the aftermath, when the waters finally recede, what remains is not just destruction, it's loss. Entire communities changed forever. Families separated, lives rewritten in an instant. And yet, amid the devastation, people come together. Strangers help strangers. Rescuers work tirelessly, searching through rubble and debris. Communities rebuild piece by piece. It's a powerful reminder that even when nature shows its most destructive side, humanity responds with its strongest.
In the end, when the water finally pulls back for the last time, silence takes over. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but something heavier. A silence filled with absence. Where homes once stood, there is nothing but empty land. Streets are unrecognizable, landmarks gone. And for those who return, the hardest part isn't what they see, it's what they don't. Familiar voices that are no longer there. Places filled with memories, now reduced to debris. Time seems to slow in these moments. Every step forward is a reminder of what was lost. But even in the darkest aftermath, life does not stop. Slowly, almost quietly, the process of rebuilding begins. First come the rescuers, searching tirelessly, hoping to find survivors against all odds. Then come the volunteers, bringing food, water, and support to those who have lost everything. And then the people themselves, picking up what remains, clearing debris, rebuilding homes, rebuilding lives. Because that is what humans do. We endure, we rebuild, we remember. Tsunamis may last only minutes, but their impact can last for generations. Entire coastlines are reshaped, ecosystems are altered, and the emotional scars can take a lifetime to heal. Children who once played on those shores grow up with a different understanding of the ocean, not just as a source of beauty, but as a force of unimaginable power. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. The ocean is not just water. It is energy. It is movement. It is something that demands respect. Because beneath its calm surface lies a power we cannot fully control. Scientists continue to study tsunamis, working to improve early warning systems, to better understand how these waves form and how we can respond faster. Satellites monitor the oceans. Sensors detect pressure changes deep below the surface. Data travels across the globe in seconds, all in an effort to save lives. And it is working. Today, many regions are far better prepared than they were just decades ago. Lives that might have been lost in the past are now being saved. But even with all our advancements, one truth remains. We cannot stop a tsunami. We can only prepare for it. And preparation begins with awareness, with understanding, with respect for the forces of nature. Because the next tsunami is not a question of if, it's a question of when. Somewhere beneath the ocean, the earth will shift again. A fault line will move, energy will be released, and a wave will begin its journey across the sea, unseen, unstoppable, until it reaches land. And when that moment comes, the difference between life and death may come down to a single decision: to run, to warn others, to move to higher ground, to act without hesitation. Because in the face of nature's most powerful forces, every second matters, and every life matters.